The Diplomat, 4th of March 2024, an analysis of the energy security strategies of China and India in Central Asia. Securing access to resources like oil and gas is essential to a nation's foreign policy because of its critical role in powering modern society. International pipeline projects can potentially worsen relations between states, such as when an energy-rich state cuts off supplies to its neighbors, or they can foster cooperation, as in the case of the peace pipeline theory, which holds that building pipelines between hostile nations reduces the likelihood of hostilities. Due to their substantial oil and gas deposits, the 5 Central Asian republics have drawn interest from other nations seeking to acquire energy resources. China and India are 2 of Central Asia's most important players due to their proximity, sizable populations, and significant energy needs. What role do the Central Asian republics play in China and India's energy security? China's Central Asian pipeline strategy aims to discover alternative oil supplies to support its aggressiveness. China has become a more prominent global force as the 21st century continues. Since 1990, the Chinese economy has expanded by about 9% annually, and the country boasts some of the most powerful armed forces in the world. With the help of multilateral projects like the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, and the BRICS, China has also attempted to assert its dominance in the area and the world. Energy access is essential for China to continue growing economically and preserving the standard of living for its 1.4 billion people. However, China's natural gas and oil production cannot keep up with the country's expanding consumption needs. Analysts predict that by 2050, China will require oil imports to meet 90% of its needs. Even while it can only produce 380 billion cubic meters of natural gas on its own, by 2050, its consumption will have increased to 700 billion cubic meters. The Middle East mainly meets China's energy demands, particularly for oil. In 2022, 6 Middle Eastern nations comprised China's top 10 crude oil suppliers: Saudi Arabia, Iraq, the United Arab Emirates, Oman, Kuwait, and Qatar. On the other hand, commodities coming from the Middle East travel via the vital Strait of Malacca shipping route before arriving at Chinese ports. Given Singapore's strategic location in the strait and its close ally status with the United States, China faces some risks. China fears the United States would obstruct or completely close the Strait of Malacca in a battle. China has, therefore, taken action to diversify its transit networks and energy sources. Due to their proximity to China and wealth of energy resources, Central Asian countries are now essential to China's geo-energy strategy, particularly when building pipelines for diplomatic and commercial purposes. In this sense, Kazakhstan is China's most significant ally. A 2,228-kilometer oil pipeline between the two countries carries 120,000 barrels of oil daily. After being operationalized in 2005, a portion of the channel became the first in Central Asia to avoid Russia. Between 2005 and 2022, China made around $36.7 billion in economic investments in Kazakhstan, with the energy sector being a significant focus. Additionally, Turkmenistan is essential to China's geo-economic plan. Turkmenistan is the only gas provider for lines A and B of the China Central Asia pipeline. Before arriving in China, each 1,833-kilometer line passes via Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Kazakhstan. These two gas lines have a combined nominal capacity of 15 billion cubic meters annually. Compared to the two states above, Uzbekistan has relatively few energy reserves. However, due to Uzbekistan's strategic location and the several pipelines that pass through it, China is incentivized to keep cordial ties with the nation. 10 million cubic meters of natural gas are shipped from Uzbekistan to China annually via Line C of the China Central Asia pipeline. Line C transmits 25 billion cubic meters of gas annually from Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Kazakhstan. We also promised to support Line D of the China Central Asia Pipeline along with China, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan. Although the 966 km gas pipeline development is not yet complete as of March 2024, it can potentially increase the region's yearly gas exports by 25 billion cubic meters. Since Line D passes through each of the 5 Central Asian nations, pipeline politics may foster regional collaboration. But, given that China may import half of the oil and gas exported from the Central Asian region by 2025, it might also make the states vulnerable to Chinese solid influence. India's Central Asian pipeline strategy. Since 2000, India's energy consumption has increased dramatically, with 80% of its energy coming from fossil fuels. After China and the US, India was the third largest energy user in 2021. In 2022, its energy consumption increased by 8%, nearly double the regional average. India's reliance on gas and oil has not peaked, notwithstanding its predicted robust economic expansion. India imports 15% of its LNG and crude oil from Africa, 15% from the Western Hemisphere, and 60% from the Middle East. India faces a decision over its energy policy. Given its inability to meet growing internal demand, it should actively look abroad for more reliable and varied energy sources. As a result, India has looked for foreign pipeline projects and grown its pipeline network to meet its development objectives and energy demands. To secure dependable energy sources and lessen its reliance on gas and oil from the Middle East, India is especially interested in engaging in energy diplomacy with the Central Asian countries. This diplomatic strategy bolsters long-term energy security in Central Asia. India entered the region diplomatically later than other countries and created the Connect Central Asia initiative in 2012 to improve its strategic standing in trade, security, and energy. India's Central Asia energy program has experienced setbacks and delays despite diplomatic and strategic collaboration. These problems are exacerbated by political limitations, such as the sanctions the United States imposed on Iran and complex interstate dynamics with neighboring nations like Afghanistan and Pakistan. After years of work and discussions, they have failed 2 major pipeline projects. In 2008, India became a part of the Turkmenistan-Afghanistan-Pakistan-India (TAPI) pipeline. However, because of the security situation in Afghanistan and certain tribal areas of Pakistan's Balochistan region, building has proven challenging for foreign investors. Despite the Taliban's 2022 pledge to secure the pipeline via Afghanistan, India has shown little interest in the project because of the difficulties above and the animosity between Pakistan and India. India entered the Iran-Pakistan-India (IPI) pipeline, sometimes known as the Peace Pipeline, 1999. 2009, New Delhi pulled out of the idea despite its strategic and economic merits. Pakistan promised in 2019 to complete the pipeline by March 2024, but work has not progressed. These 2 projects illustrate the reasons behind India's energy-related problems in Central Asia. Final thoughts and prospective paths for China and India. China is becoming a significant force in Central Asia, using energy security to uphold its political and economic stature internationally. China has strengthened its position in Central Asia by employing strategies like resource extraction, investments, and long-term contracts. The crisscrossing pipeline networks encourage more regional cooperation among the Central Asian republics. China's energy plan has started to create a mutually dependent environment in the region. However, it also risks displacing Central Asian autonomy to appease Chinese demands. India's imports to the region account for less than 1.5% of its exports, indicating a far lower level of regional influence. Besides Kazakhstan, which supplied $342 million worth of crude oil to India in 2023, there is a limited chance for energy commerce between the two countries, given that India purchases almost no gas from Central Asia. Moreover, India's regional investments are far smaller than China's, and its pipeline projects have not produced impressive outcomes. Briefly, India's relations with the area are more aspirational than realistic. China is currently overtaking India in Central Asia in terms of influence in terms of energy security. For many years, China will remain a significant player in the region, if not the dominant one. India's contribution, meanwhile, shouldn't be disregarded. Its connectivity initiatives, like the International North-South Transport Corridor, INSTC, can potentially upend the existing quo because of its close diplomatic and political links to the Central Asian republics. The geoeconomic importance of the Central Asian republics and this region will be crucial for comprehending future energy patterns, and geopolitical struggle is abundantly evident.